I bought my first house at 19 years old. We definitely stand out compared to most of the other companies.
What are some of the tools that you guys are using? This is what blows my mind. 8 locations. That's incredible growth. How does a company scale to that level?
Do 4 hours of Playbook training to make sure that these guys are given the same consistent experience to every customer that they see.
What does your day-to-day look like?
I run a special report that shows where we are on margins, labor expenses, equipment expenses.
What's one stuff that you love and what's one stuff that you hate working on?
One of my favorite things to do is train techs. I spent 8 or so years in the truck myself. And my least favorite things is vehicles, because we have like 108 vehicles on the road. So
how has Call Dad managed to find and keep, kind of great technicians in their company?
So 70% of our technicians are homegrown. You create loyalty that way.
What would be one tip you would want to share?
You get what you put in.
Welcome to the HVAC Hotshots, the podcast where HVAC entrepreneurs like you learn to dominate your market and build multi-million-dollar empires. Every week, we bring you proven strategies, expert insights, and inspiring stories from industry leaders who have been in the trenches and come out on top. Whether you are just starting out or scaling up, this is your go-to resource to ignite your business goal. So buckle up, hotshot. It's time to turn up the heat and make your HVAC dreams a reality. Hello everyone, Yashdas from HVAC Hotshots and welcome to episode 11. Today I'm thrilled to be sitting down with Derrick, Head of Operations at Call Dad. Derrick, thanks for being here, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
We'll be kind of talking about operational stuff and all the stuff, but before we kind of get into all the amazing things happening at Call Dad, I'd love to, hear your story. How did you actually get into the trade side of things?
Oh, it's a fun story. I bought my first house at 19 years old. The house only had an oil furnace, no air conditioning. So I had called a company out to give me a quote on replacing the equipment and getting me some AC in there. And the sales guy that came out, the comfort advisor, actually liked me so much that he introduced me to the owner, and went and had dinner at the owner's house and started sweeping the floors, anything I could do to get into the industry. So I was 20 years old. So I've been in the industry for almost 21 years.
Interesting, man. As someone said, you cannot predict the dots, from future. You have to kind of, look backward and turn the dots connecting. I've got to say, your company name always makes me smile, to be honest. Call Dad. It's probably the most unique name I've heard in the industry. There's got to be some story behind it. Would you mind telling us about that?
Sure. So when we started, the owner in 2017 purchased a company in Charlotte, and the name was Sky HVAC. And we went on running with that name for a while, purchased all the locations that we did, greenfielded locations that we did with that name, and felt like the owner started feeling like we were trying to build our culture around the brand that was already there and not our brand. He met Wizard of Ads, got introduced to Wizard of Ads. Wizard of Ads comes down and interviews him, spends a whole day interrogating him and trying to figure out his why and his things. And they're the ones that pitched the name. I think originally it was something a little different, like Dad Air or something, but it was around why he does what he does. And so the name ended up being Call Dad. Once we got it, we loved it, and we've had a great time with it.
Do you think it helps you stand out from the crowd?
Yeah, when we travel and do a lot of stuff and go to other shops around the country and go to stuff like home service for Tommy Mello, Pantheon for Service Titan, things like that. And we definitely stand out compared to most of the other companies with our salmon shirts, looking like some old school guys whenever we walk around. So it definitely does stand out. I don't know if you've seen our trucks, but they are flat khaki. So we wear khaki pants and the logos are on it in the salmon. So it's definitely a standout brand. A lot different than what you're seeing today with a lot of the loud character type stuff that you see. Not anything wrong with that, but ours is just completely different.
Absolutely. By the way, I was reading your interview on Service Titan's website the other day. Are you guys using their platform? Because I'm a bit curious, why you choose them over, something like HCP or other CRMs out there.
Well, I don't have a ton of experience with different ones. I've used Successware back in the day from Airtime. Used House Call Pro a little bit, in the transition, but for the reporting and everything we're able to do with multi-location for Service Titan, it has been what's best for us. Until somebody else can put something else out there that's better, then I would say that we're pretty married to Service Titan at this point.
Makes sense. By the way, other than Service Titan, what are some of the tools that you guys are using in day-to-day operational stuff?
We use Chirp some, not a ton. We use Service Titan's platform, and some of the things that they offer with some of the pro tools, but not a lot.
Makes sense. Now this is what blows my mind. 8 locations. That's incredible growth. Could it take us through that journey? How does a company scale to that level while keeping everything running smoothly, especially because you're into operation, right? Your job is a lot harder, right? You have to keep things at the best quality possible. How do you kind of, keep things running smoothly?
It's not the easiest thing in the world. There's multiple layers to this. If you want to talk about like customer experience, if you're wanting to talk about how do we manage the people, like which avenue do you want me to go down? Is it customer experience, like the customer getting the same experience no matter whether they do business with us in Charleston, South Carolina or Asheville, North Carolina? Is that what you're looking for?
Yep. So we'll kind of get into both of the stuff. Firstly, I want to get into the customer side of things. Then we'll be kind of getting into the SOPs and how you guys are doing those stuff.
For you, so you want to start with the customer experience, you're saying? Okay. So we have Playbook. We have a playbook that we follow. We're real big on bringing apprentices in and teaching them the process through our Dad University program. But even the experienced techs and the ones that we have on board, we follow the playbook. We do playbook training. I travel around to other locations on Thursdays a lot of the times and spend 4 hours with typically 2 locations depending on the region. And we do 4 hours of playbook training to make sure that these guys are given the same consistent experience to every customer that they see. That is the main thing that we do to make sure that the consistency of experience is there.
Makes sense. And coming to the SOPs or processes and stuff, right? So are you kind of creating every single bits of SOPs and then you're kind of giving it to the techs and all the person responsible for that? How does that work?
Yeah. The playbook is what it is. We created it back when we transitioned to Call Dad. We changed it up a little bit, made it more fun and a more enlightened experience for the customer, hoping to give dad jokes, things like that. But like regular SOPs, if there is some kind of changes or things like that, it goes to our regional managers, and our region managers will spend time with their staff to make sure that it's implemented properly and followed, and the process is followed to accountability.
Makes sense. Talking about the head of operational role, what does your day-to-day look like, if you can tell?
Well, my day-to-day is I start off every morning just checking where we're at with revenue, what we have on the board for the day. I have a morning mojo meeting with all the RMs that we have. We have 4 RMs in the company, and I meet with those guys every morning. I run a special report that shows where we are on margins, labor expenses, equipment expenses. I build a sheet that we look at that every day to manage that. And then it just depends. I do L10s with my team. I do a corporate L10 with the C-suite of Call Dad every week. A lot of phone calls with managers, doing pulse checks with different field staff. I have rocks from our L10 that I have to accomplish each quarter, and then to-dos that I get done. So bigger projects, smaller projects, but I'm always working on something or talking to someone. Spend a lot of time on the phone. With us being spread out across the states, there's a lot of phone interaction.
You're doing a lot of stuff. Tell me, what's one stuff that you love and what's one stuff that you hate working on?
I would say that one of my favorite things to do is train techs the playbook. Like, I really enjoy doing that process just because I'm a tech at heart. I spent 8 or so years in the truck myself. So getting them to understand that process and how it changed me and made the customer open up to me, built friendships, relationships. Teaching that is probably one of my favorite things to do, and spending time with my managers, because those guys have been with me in some way since the beginning. So spending time with them, teaching them, watching them grow, helping them get to the next level has been pretty big and enjoyable to me. The worst thing to do for me is to try to get accountability the same across the board, I would say, because it's like, it's a really hard, difficult task to get all managers to hold people accountable the same way or something like that. And the next thing probably is grown to be one of my least favorite things is vehicles, because we have like 108 vehicles on the road. So that is, anytime somebody wants to call me about transmission messing up or somebody's in an accident or something like that, I just want to bang my head up against the wall. So I would say that is probably way up there as well.
Crazy. You face a lot of stuff. Tell me about the challenge side of things. Someone joining a company as a, let's say, head of operation. What would you say would be a big operation challenge that might come in the future, and how would you work through it?
What would be a big challenge or an head of operations, and how do we work through it? I would say there's constant challenges, and the good thing about Call Dad is we've learned to make decisions fast, right or wrong, and pivot easily. We've done that. That's one of the reasons why we've been able to grow so well. So I wouldn't say that there's any challenges that at this point really bother me or stick out in any way that I'm like, oh God, this would be really hard for somebody, because I don't know what it would be like coming in. I've got lucky because I've got to grow with the company as the company's grown. So that's probably allowed it to seem easier than probably what it is, just because when we were 2 million, when we were 5 million, when we were 10 million, 20 million, like you grow with that. So you grow with the job. And as long as you work on yourself and continue to make sure you're not hitting a ceiling where the company's outgrowing you continue to grow with the company. I think it seems easier than what it probably is if somebody came in and just was like, I'm in charge of all this. I think that's probably the answer. It's find somewhere you can grow with the company.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
You talk about taking to a company and being loyal to it, right? But as we are seeing, how things have been, a lot of people, kind of change the company, every 6 months, a year or so.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, you also know that our industry is having a lot of tech shortage, right? It's affecting every single person in the industry. How has Call Dad managed to find and keep, kind of great technicians in their company?
So 70% of our technicians are homegrown. You create loyalty that way alone. You give someone an opportunity that's working in a factory or that is looking for a way to build a career. You gain loyalty that way. But the way Call Dad's outrunning it is 71% of our techs are homegrown. We just started 22 techs on January 6th in our apprenticeship program. And our plan is to add, it would be, I guess, 78 more this year. One class every quarter this year. And our program's accredited by the state. It's a 3-year program. It's not one of those situations where we hire people and say, hey, this is Tom. You're going to ride with Tom. Tom's going to teach you the trade. And we just do it that way. We have a head trainer that was actually a school teacher that ended up going into the trades herself and then wanted to teach the trades. So she's got a teaching degree, understands the trades, and now teaches the trades. And then we've hired her another trainer. So we've got 2 trainers within the organization, and we've got a 3-year program that these guys are within 3 months or so. Those guys will be in the field, and then we'll start another one. So that's how we're outrunning it. It's not hiring people that have experience. It's creating our own experience within Call Dad.
Makes sense. And if I'm correct, the name of that training is Dad University, right?
It is correct.
Stands for Dependable Accurate Diagnostics Training Program, right?
Yep.
Could you tell a bit more about that? How do you guys kind of decided to create it and how it's working out?
We decided because I think the owner and our COO has always wanted to do that from the very beginning. That was part of their big dream, right? To get to that point. So even when we were a Sky, we started our first class through that program. Actually, one of the guys that was in that one is now a service manager in Asheville. So it's always been something we wanted to do. We have got better at it. Our first one was not great. We have continued each time to get better and better at the program, revamping it, doing different things to make it fit our culture and our company. So it's always been something that's important, and we don't take the foot off the gas. We don't say, okay, we got enough techs now. We constantly have a 3-year schedule for what that's going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been super important to us from the beginning.
Makes sense. Talking about numbers a bit, what metrics really tell you how the business is doing? What are some of the KPIs do you live by? I know that would really depend on what sort of department we are looking at, but if in general you could say, these are the most important ones you look at every single day.
For me, it's the overarching margin, right? I'm looking at margin every single day with all my RMs and where we're at. Gross margin, not bottom line, but gross margin. That is probably the number one driver in everything that we do, and the choices that we make and things like that for my side of things. Because I break it out in install and service. So that way we know where we're at in both departments. So when we look at direct labor on install, direct labor on service, and we, like I said, that morning mojo meeting, that's what we're going through. Where we're at with sales, of course, is a driver, and then our service performance on conversion rates and average tickets, membership conversions, and then lead conversions. Those are things that I'm looking at every single day.
Mm. But the two stuff I want to actually talk about, gross margin and average ticket. Do you have any sort of strategy or maybe some tips to kind of improve that?
When it comes to the service side or sales side or just in general?
Sales side of things.
Sales side of things, it's being priced right, and then having your structure for sales commissions for your comfort advisor to be set up right. Install, we don't have to manage the margins too much. We've got that honed in pretty well. Service is the harder one to get to where it needs to be, because that one requires conversion rates to be higher, and then techs offering things or building packages that suit customers' needs.
Mm-hmm.
That one's a harder one to get. The sales one, as long as you're priced right, you know what your fixed costs are there for the most part, and install one's an easier one to get.
Makes sense. Do you also have any sort of affiliate stuff figured out? Are you guys kind of, paying a customer if they refer you to someone else?
We would, and the comfort advisors ask for those referrals. And we would give we have in the past gave customers some type of reward for giving us a referral, but this is not something that we go after heavily.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Makes perfect sense. Talking about after hours call, because a lot of companies actually face the issue of it. How do you guys handle that?
We run 4 on 4 off, so we're 7 days a week company, almost across the board. By summertime, we will be 365 days a year in all departments. But service works 4 on 4 off, and we have coverage from 8 to 10 p.m., from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. pretty much. And then any of our members, if you are a Family First member, you get Dad's on the Way, which is basically if you call in no matter the time, we'll send somebody out to you. If the tech can't support you over the phone for that situation, then we'll send somebody to you. If you're a member. Mm-hmm. After 10, if you're not a member, then we don't service you until the next day.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Talking about the seasonality, what are you guys focused on when there's a slow season?
We do a lot of maintenance. I couldn't tell you what slow season looks like lately. I would have told you prior to that Q4 is typically a slow season, that you can't beat Santa Claus. That was not the case for us this year. We actually had one of our strongest quarters in Q4 of 2024. And so I couldn't give you an answer on that because the last slow season I would say would be March of 2024. But we have tons of membership, family memberships. So we would do maintenances. We would do duct cleanings, things like that to help drive the shoulder season. But don't know what that looks like currently. Good problem to have, but I couldn't give you a healthy answer on that.
No worries at all. That's for sure a good problem to have. Talking about the membership, how much is it priced at?
How much is the price?
Yeah.
16, it's $203.40 a year is what it costs. $203.40 a year.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. The last question, and I'll be very honest with you, all the questions that I had, you actually gave the answer to the point. You didn't go here and there. You were sticking to every single sentence, and I actually love that. Before I let you go, I know you actually said that, yes, I might not answer this one, but what wisdom would you share with our listeners? What would be one tip you would want to share?
If I had a tip to share with listeners, I don't know what type of people actually listen. But
mostly HVAC business owners or your tech or but no.
Depending on your role, I would say you get what you put in. No matter what that means. If you think that you're going to make K this year and you're going to do the work to get 100K this year. If you want to make $1 million this year, you're going to do the work to get $1 million. No matter what that means. If you want to get better as a human, you're going to invest your time in what matters most to you, right? So if my goal is to take this HVAC company to $5 million, then I'm going to do what it takes to get that company to $5 million. Whether that means listen to podcasts, read books, calling people, reaching out, putting yourself out there to figure out the information that you don't have. Whatever your goal is, you're going to get what you put in to get to there. So
we love that. So in a nutshell, the output you get is based on the input you put.
Correct. 100%.
Makes sense. This was a bit of shorter version, guys, that we talked with Derek. I hope you love this, and I love his concise answers. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye. Have a great day. Feel free to comment below if you have got any other question. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Derek, thanks again, man. Loved it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.